in my life. Who could complain? Who could complain on a day like today? I see the Rumble folks are streaming in. We still got troubles with the comments on the YouTube channel. And now that I use Rumble Studios, it doesn't even preload them. So, new problems, but that's okay. Let me make sure we're going live everywhere like we're supposed to be. Says I'm live. Says I'm live. There we go. Says that I'm live. Okay, that's good. That's good. The other problem with the Rumble feed is that it doesn't send Hoddle T Washington. It doesn't send the waiting room. It doesn't send the waiting room. Hey, Nolan, what's up? Hoddle T, CB. Good morning, Nolan and crew. Hope you're doing great. Tommy in the house with a good morning. With a good morning. Hope you're doing well, Tommy. B for victory, saying bon matin. Good morning, Bitcoiners. So we're going to be trying out the screen. The setup looks great. Yeah, it's getting there, Ben. It's getting there. I'm going to try this sized screen. We'll see how it goes. This is my normal 24-inch Apple computer screen. So I'd like to not buy another large screen, and we'll see if this 24 will be good enough. We'll see. So far, so good. It's a good way for me to share the thumbnail, and I have a few headlines and stories that I'll put into it today, and we'll see how that goes. I tried before doing them all. It doesn't really work, but I created a little slideshow today. We'll see how it goes. Trying to integrate some follow-alongs, a little bit of follow-alongs, you know. The equivalent would be good morning, Sluggo. Or good afternoon in your case. The equivalent would be, you know, if we're all sitting around and it's like the 90s and we're having coffee and reading the newspaper together. That's kind of what we're going for here, right? Like people getting together, having coffee, reading the newspaper, except newspapers are all scams, so we can't read the newspaper. So what it kind of looks like is it's as if I'll put the page of the newspaper we're talking about onto the table. I mean, that's what I'm going for with this. It's like this is the stuff we're talking about. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Greetings from the California desert, Nolan. Johnny Midas. Hope you're doing well there. Hope you're doing well there. Drew, moody Montreal morning. It sure is. It sure is. People are upset. People are upset about the weather around here. It's happening. But in my case, because I'm coming from nothing but 80, 90 degrees every day and sun, I don't really mind it. We're enjoying the cool gray weather. But I'll be honest, I am a little sick of the grayness. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long. Can you drop your Rumble link? I sure can, JK. Let me see how I would do that. Morning Freaks, morning Morand. Just a second. I got a kid. Awesome edition. Yeah. One second here. It is my little girl's 5th birthday today. I shall share so all my kids, I timestamp the Bitcoin price when they're born. So they know if they're rich, you know, and they know. Thank you, Count BTC. So JK, yeah, if someone could do that, could someone share the Rumble link? Because with my setup here, I'm in the Rumble studio and I don't believe I have the means. Yeah, Wisteria. Sorry, I was just talking with my kid for a second. I had to turn the thing off. It's her birthday. She's 5 years old today, so she'll be going to our homeschool thing in a second. Smartinez 04. Yeah, Wisteria. It was just a I turned it off for a second. Nolan, LFG. People thought Hong Kong was going to pump their bags. Failures of the government will be the only bag pumps. Bitcoin for the win. That's what we're talking about today. That is indeed what we're talking about today. Lance says Texas is here. We love Texas. There we go. There we go. Sluggo has shared it. Daylight computers. I don't know what you mean, Morand. I don't know. I just have it on the max brightness. That's all I've done here with this screen. Happy birthday, little count. Indeed, CV says. Yeah. Happy birthday. We got all kinds of fun stuff planned. Muslim Bitcoiner writes, Assalamu alaikum. First Republic Bank down in flames. Ooh, what a way to start the 2024 bank failures. Isn't it crazy? That one even surprised me. That one really surprised me. I did not see that coming. I thought they only let the crypto banks go. But that's fine. That's fine. All right, let's acknowledge. We got a nice sunrise, gray as it is, but the sun's up, right? We're doing okay. Bitcoin's running. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what's new. So, well, we'll get to the theme and whatchamacallit first. First, let us do, yes, I am back in Canada Stan. We love Jose Canada Stan. Canada Stan is great if you don't pay taxes. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it. People are, look, NPC sludge people are great if you don't care. If they're just like making hamburgers and coffees and stuff, they're great. There's nothing wrong with them. We got to live with them, right? And they're full here. You don't even expect them to not be mindless NPCs. You know for sure they're going to be. So there's no expectations. There's no great expectations when you're here. You know what they're going to do, and it's very predictable, and it's great. We love them. We love them. Now, if I had to pay taxes here, I would be very upset, but I don't, so I don't care. The cost of living is very cheap relative to other places, but still, I understand Canadians are having a hard time with it, but don't blame me for that, right? I didn't do it. All right, here we go. Let's get into some Moscow time. Moscow time. Moscow time. Moscow time. What do we got in Moscow time today? Well, the New York Post is letting us know that breeding cows that fart less could help curb global warming. New study. You already all knew that the big farts from the cows were the big problem, right? But Bill Gates has an even better idea. It's not just about breeding new cows. It's not like, oh, that bull over there farts a little and that female cow farts not so much either. I have my fart spreadsheet here and I know which ones aren't farting, so I'm going to mate them. If you thought that was the way we were going to deal with farts and the cows, you're an idiot. You didn't know. There's a much better way. Bill Gates has it here. He says, AI will allow us to genetically modify beef cows to fight climate change. So it's nothing to do with like spreadsheets and keeping track of all the farts in your cows. Because I could just see farmers are looking for a way to join the modern world. And I was going to tell them, because I meet a lot of farmers, because I like to pay the Bitcoin and get the stakes. And I was going to say, hey, what you got to do is you got to go to every one of your cows and you got to put your face right in their ass. And then you got to see how much they fart and you got to measure it. You could probably get an intern. Could probably get someone looking for, a migrant worker who's trying to get a job, right? You could be a fart sniffer, a cow fart sniffer. And then you got to be able to keep statistics, though. So you need some statistician stuff with the fart smelling, but it could go great. And indeed, AOC put it perfectly, right? She's talking about what some mean people out there call illegals. The illegals. AOC talking about it here. She says the far right loves to drum up fear and resistance to immigrants. But have you ever noticed they never talk about what's causing people to flee their homes in the first place? Perhaps that's because they're being forced to confront one major factor fueling global migration. What's the major factor? It's climate change. It's climate change. She's going to say it again. It's climate change. So here's the plan. Here's the new D-Day. I'm going to help AOC today. I'm going to help AOC. We got all the migrants, right? And they're fleeing climate change. But how do we stop climate change? We need more fart sniffers. So I say no illegals in America. No one in America should be illegal. We have so much need for fart sniffing of the cows that there's unlimited employment for that job. Unlimited employment. And that way, the people who are fleeing the global warming migration stuff have a job that can actually stop the global warming. It can actually stop it. Now, as I said, this is the problem with the AI taking away people's jobs, right? So Bill Gates is the bad guy here, right? Because he's going to use AI to do it. And I'm saying, no. Microsoft spreadsheets and fart sniffers in the cows' butts, and it's all going to be gone. We're going to solve global warming with this new job, right? And we're going to need it. We're going to need fart sniffing as a job, cow fart sniffing as a job, because the Washington Times is letting us know here, who could have seen this coming? Who could have seen this coming? Fast food chains find a way around the $20 minimum wage. Get rid of the workers. I never saw it. Oh, jeez. Gosh. Unintended consequences. Now, here's some really good news, right? So I'm going to mix the AOC with the fart sniffing and the global warming and the migration and the illegals, and watch, I'm going to solve another problem with all of this creativity, right? What's AOC doing without these answers? So here's a headline from Reuters. Poland ready to help Ukraine to get military-age men back, minister says. And then you got CBC News saying the same thing in Canada. After dropping its conscription age and announcing most military-age men would not be able to renew their passport or access consular services abroad, Kiev is underlining its position that its citizens abroad have obligations in Ukraine's fight. Duh. They got to just say they moved from global warming, not Russia. It's not the war. So if these Ukrainians, right, what are they going to need their passports for? They're not going to get conscripted. All they got to do is come to America and they say, no. We're the fart sniffing people. We're going to do the spreadsheets with the fart sniffing to make sure the cows, we know which ones don't fart a lot so we can breed them, right? So we can breed the non-farting cows, the non-gassy cows. That's what we want. I think Ukrainians can handle that job. I think they'd be good at it. I think they'd be great at it. Oh, this also in, though, from Reuters. Ukraine's $61 billion lifeline is not enough. It's not enough anymore. More. 61 billion. As we heard, it's got about 6 months for them, right? So we got to get more. Oh, this is great. Washington Post. Employers who repeatedly misgender their employees or deny them access to a bathroom consistent with their gender identity are committing workplace harassment under federal anti-discrimination laws, according to a new guidance by the EOCC. But in other news, they're saying that there's a new transgender thing. It's called seasonal transgender. So the Washington Post really needs to address this, because what if employers repeatedly misgender their employees with seasonal change not taken into account? It's going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. So there you go. Now I got 3 great ones. So Abby Phillip yesterday on Abby Phillip's show. Again, I tell you, I watch CNN for the laughs. I got to see what's funny, right? So Abby Phillips had a bunch of guests on yesterday. She covered all the hot issues. Listen to all of her guests yesterday. I got quotes from each of her 3 guests. First off, we got Noah Fay. She's a Jewish Columbia student, and she says that her Jewish classmates involved in the pro-Palestinian protests take them as seriously as we all take blacks for Trump and gays for Trump. It's absolutely a fair comparison. It's the same tokenization. That's how seriously we should take them. They don't represent our community, and they've been tokenized. That's one, okay? So Abby Phillip wasn't done with the campus and the Columbia and the Jewish and the Palestine and the ceasefire and the Gaza. She had more. She gets Stormy Daniels' friend on the air. Stormy Daniels' friend was on the air. They had a porn star's friend. She looks classy. She looks great. We love her. Alana Evans is her name. And so Alana Evans says Daniels is ready for justice ahead of her testimony in Donald Trump's hush money trial. Stormy is going to be a strong witness. This is the moment that she has to look him dead in the face and call it out for what it is and finally put her voice to the truth in a way we've all been waiting for. Justice will prevail. So good. Oh, and she had one more on, and this is great. She had Hunter Biden's lawyer on. Okay, so Abby Phillips yesterday has on the Jewish girl who goes to Columbia and says, no, those Jews are stupid. They're like blacks who love Trump. They're dumb. They're stupid people, right? And the gays who like Trump, it's the same as the gays, the gay Jewish people who like Hamas. They're just dumb. They're just dumb, right? That's what she was saying. I'm not saying that. That's what she's saying, right? But now she gets Hunter Biden's lawyer on, right? So Hunter Biden demands a retraction and threatens to sue Fox. His attorney says this is actually more of a conspiracy to defame and paint in a false light, and why that's significant. And when it's a conspiracy case that actually eliminates a lot of the classic defenses that something like a media organization would have against defamation claims. So that's what's definitely sets this apart from other cases. I don't understand a word he said, but he sounds like he believes it. So we love him. We love him. All right. So today we have my Rube Goldberg machine, and it's trying to print money and make content. This is a content making, money printing Rube Goldberg machine. It's everything fiat needs. They need this machine invented today. Otherwise, they're fucked, right? So what we can really see, though, and I'm going to start today with a quote from... No, that's not how I click it. There we go. There we go. We're going to see how this works. So we're going to start today with the, we all talk about proof of work in Bitcoin, right? We love proof of work. Proof of work is the point of what we're doing, right? Proof of work. But what we're seeing now with the entropy that's entered the fiat system, at least over the last 80 years, perhaps over the last 100 and something years since it was first instituted, when entropy like this sets in, the purpose of the machine, the purpose of the system, the purpose of whatever it is you've built, once that entropy is set in, the things it produces can be often the opposite of what were intended in the first place. And that's kind of what we're seeing with fiat right now. The nodes that push fiat around the world, the privileged nodes that make fiat work, have always been the banking system, the media, the military-industrial complex, all of these, and the universities together. All of these things help propagate a shared consensus on what reality is. And you put work into getting the credentials, you put work into spreading the news, you put work into the creation of money by going into debt and doing how money is created in fiat, right? Loans, interest rates. That's what creates new money in the fiat system, of course. Taking out a loan in a debt-based system is exactly how you make new money. And so if these things aren't working, if the banking system and based on the Federal Reserve System and the media and the military, if those things aren't coordinating properly, then the fiat system isn't working. And when entropy sets in, we can see that the system really isn't working. And now we have proof. We have proof of it not working in the same way that Bitcoin proves through proof of work that it's functioning, that the database that we all see shared is a accurate version of reality, a shared reality that we can all agree on mostly. When that's not happening and you get to what we see with fiat right now, when you see entropy set into the way that it has, you can see that the purposes of the system have become opposite to what they were maybe intended for at the beginning, or maybe not. We don't know. And Robert Kennedy, who knows a thing about this. So I've said for a long time, and I believe this, that the Kennedys are maybe the reason why the fox is in the hen house in the first place. Right? The fox being in the hen house in the sense that we don't have a republic. America hasn't been a republic, at least since they killed his uncle, John F. Kennedy, in the 60s. But it looks like his uncle did make deals for the Chicago mob, which has a lot to do with the border. I didn't know this for a long time, but the Chicago mob and the Mexican-American border are related and have been for a long time. And so in the case of Kennedy, the Chicago mob helped him win the 1960 election against Nixon, particularly in Illinois and Chicago. And it looks like they had a bill for that help, which involved getting Cuba back, because before Mexico, it was Cuba. And Cuba in the 1960s had a lot of appropriation of gangsters' property, money, businesses. They want it back. The reason why, I don't know if a lot of Americans know this, the reason why there is a Las Vegas, the reason why Vegas was ever built was because Cuba was taken away, right? Cuba was taken away in the 1950s. Cuba was the Las Vegas of the time. It's where the casinos were. I've been to Cuba many times. I've seen Al Capone's house there and all the gangsters that were there. The Chicago mob was already there. And so Bay of Pigs was something that the Chicago, or the objective of Bay of Pigs in the summer of 1963 was to get Cuba back in the let's be Las Vegas plan, not the whatever the hell it is now plan. And so when that didn't happen, when Kennedy abandoned them, lots of stuff happened next. We don't know exactly what happened next, but it ended with Kennedy being shot in the face. And so the Kennedy family, right? The grandfather, for example, where a lot of the mob ties came from, was a bootlegger, right? I don't know if a lot of people know that, but John F. Kennedy, or Joseph Kennedy, the father, was a bootlegger. He owned a series of pharmacies, and there was an exclusion in pharmacies to sell booze, where you could sell the ingredients to beer. For example, there was a way to buy a powder that you could put into carbonated water, you get a beer. And a lot of these things were sold through the pharmacies. And Robert Kennedy's great-grandfather owned these pharmacies. He was also the original chair of the SEC, set up to stop and prevent whatever happened in the 1960s, or in the 1920s, right? So, I got a lot of comments there. So there we go. So, so now that you see this Kennedy emerge, I predicted already in 2022 that Kennedy performing in this campaign would bring up all of his family ties and would bring up all the history that his family had in the corruption of the United States and suffering for that corruption as well. So he said yesterday, and this is exactly where we need to set up, yeah. They did, Jose, they definitely set him up, but he owed them something from the beginning, right? He owed them something. Let me see if this works. Pin? No, my for some reason the comments aren't going up there anymore. Anyway, so Kennedy yesterday goes on to, and my theory of Kennedy joining the race was that it was going to lead to all of these threads having their narrative conclusions, right? So what happened in 1960, what happened to Kennedy, I thought all of that would continue to play out in 2024. And it looks like that's what's happening. So here's what he says. The Fed is a criminal agency. It's just a vacuum cleaner for Wall Street to shift wealth upward to this kleptocracy, and it's a captured agency. So he's saying here that not only is the Federal Reserve a corrupt institution, it's a captured agency. Now, it's not even supposed to be part of the government. You know that, right? It's not even supposed to be part of it. I know that when Bitcoin Magazine was getting, or they were threatened with a cease and desist from the US Federal Reserve System, from the Chicago Federal Reserve for the Fed Now shirts, I told our counsel, who was a dumb lawyer, not quite smart enough to understand what was going on, I said, why don't we do what Kennedy tried to do? Kennedy tried to enjoin the Missouri versus Joe Biden case in order to, be a witness, an amicus curiae, it's called, a person who's involved in it, is a friend of the court and a friend of the case that can add context to whatever was happening. And so I said, well, we could probably do the same as Bitcoin Magazine when we had this trouble with the Federal Reserve. And the lawyer was like, well, it doesn't make any sense. And he goes, it's not really the same thing. The Federal Reserve is not a federal entity. And I said, but that's our point. I want them to defend themselves in public by saying they're not part of the government. They need to say that publicly because it serves our purpose. Whatever way it went, we would have won, right? He got stuck in the literal and not the show that you could create out of it. So we never did the case to enjoin. Bobby Kennedy tried to enjoin Missouri versus Joe Biden for this exact case. He was also denied. So I knew we would be denied, but getting denied was going to be funny and worth the stuff. So now that we know, and now that Bobby Kennedy is completely unleashed and is talking this way, what he's saying here about the Federal Reserve is proof that this thing isn't working, that it's captured, that it has nothing to do with the original intentions. He goes on, there's more to it. He says, they're all captured. The CIA is captured by the military industrial complex. Its function is to give us a pipeline of new wars. The Fed is captured by Wall Street to consolidate all the banks, so all of them are too big to fail. It's all designed to shift wealth upward. We've financialized our economy and destroyed our industrial base, and now we need to reverse those policies. I think there's a tremendous reason to hope in this country if we have the right leadership. President Trump and President Biden both had a chance. You know what you're going to get if you elect them. You're more polarization, more debt, more chronic disease. If you want this country to live up to its idealism, then you have to start supporting me, he said. So he said all of that in an interview with Ben Shapiro yesterday, right? So it's a very good interview, very interesting. And indeed, it's another one of these instances where entropy is set into the Federal Reserve System so much that has nothing to do with what it once was. And the things that propagate the Federal Reserve, for example, the banking system, is even more corrupt, right? You've got this case now, I guess the HSBC CEO quit this morning, right? The HSBC CEO quit this morning. What we know from their history is that they've been one of the most corrupt banks in the world. It's not even close, right? In 2012, this is from Peruvian Bull, HSBC is a criminal bank that was literally caught laundering almost $1 billion for Mexican drug cartels. Let them burn. Now, how much trouble do devs get into these days for writing anonymous software code? Much worse than HSBC, right? In 2012, U.S. federal regulators hit HSBC with a $1.9 billion fine, along with $665 million in civil penalties. That's all for that anti-money laundering thing. They laundered $881 million for the Sinaloa cartel and Colombia's Nortel del Valle drug cartels. HSBC's weak AML controls led to illegal fund transfers, currency exchanges through their correspondent banking services, and go on and on and on and on and on, right? So the banking system is as fraudulent and corrupt as any of our other broken systems, all of which are broken, right? Nothing is working anymore. Look at the news, right? Look at the news. We got Vigilant Fox doing, again, his 10 stories they chose not to tell you, and it's now episode 20, right? So, explosive report unveils the shocking truth about skin cancer in the sun. Which Bitcoiner didn't know about this? Which one? Who in Bitcoin hasn't been talking about the scam that is suntan, sunscreen, getting out of the sun? Which Bitcoiner didn't know about that? We all knew, right? But now it's clear the media doesn't even want people to hear about that. Biden's surprise live interview with Howard Stern goes sideways. Not a word of it in the mainstream news. U.S. birth rates plummet to lowest levels since 1979, failing to exceed replacement rate. Number 7, Michael Avenatti flips the script on Stormy Daniels, now says he's willing to testify on Trump's behalf. Don't we love Avenatti now? Avenatti for president. He was better than Fetterman. I wish Brian Stelter would have gotten his way and Avenatti would have been a candidate right now. More fun than the people they have. Robert Kennedy reveals that the NIH isn't telling you the truth about mass shootings, and that's the point that Kennedy always makes, that all of these people are on some form of medication each time, right? They're always on the antipsychotic pills or the antidepressant pills, and that's a coincidence or something that should be looked into. Biden wants to give himself COVID-like powers by declaring a climate emergency. British thought police enter a Christian man's home over a social media protest. This has all happened this week. Number 3, Arizona governor vetoes bill requiring proof of residency to vote. You don't gotta live here. So as I keep telling people, I want to vote for Biden 5 times again to make sure this stuff keeps happening, right? That's my policy here. I'm going to vote 5 times again. We're loving it. Number 2, medical whistleblower says COVID jabs cause patients to die so horrifically and so quickly. It's not funny. I'm not laughing. Okay, I take that laugh back, and you better not laugh at this either. It's not funny. It's not funny that this is all news to people who are tricked by the news. Imagine people who watch the news don't know anything about this stuff, and it would be like a revelation to them. What? I can go in the sun and not die? What? It's why you've got Bill Ackman, just to show just how corrupt and useless politics are. Bill Ackman saying the biggest mistake Democrats have made is supporting POTUS Biden for a second term. By supporting Biden, they have given him false confidence that he can win the race. As a result, he did not step aside and allow better and younger candidates to emerge. There are none. Bill, come on. Now, as polls increasingly indicate that real Donald Trump will win by a large margin, it is likely too late for an alternative Democrat to emerge. And I suspect the polls understate Trump's margin, as I believe many are not willing to admit that they intend to vote for Trump. Handing the election to Trump will be Biden's legacy. So it's just not working, right? It's just not working. And you can tell just how corrupted all those systems are. It's not just the elections. It's not just the party politics. It's not just that, right? Just look at what they're trying to do now with Ukraine again. This comes from Amuse and David Sachs. Zelensky announces that Ukraine is working on a security agreement with the US that will fix levels of support for 10 years. The $61 billion was just the beginning. The next 2 US presidents won't be able to switch it off. So this is them talking about it. And Amuse saying Biden is working on a 10-year deal to send Ukraine $1 trillion in military aid. Let's go. $1 trillion. It's going to be $1 trillion. 500 billion. It's $1 trillion in military aid and 500 billion in reconstruction loan guarantees. This would prevent the next 2 presidents from cutting off aid. So it's perfect, right? It's perfect. Now, if that's not enough, if it's not enough that we're giving them all this money, right? If that's not enough, we've got a return. So if you dare question it, right? If you dare want to talk about this stuff, we got Nina back. Nina Jankowicz is back. This used to be the disinformation czar that Biden hired immediately, right? That was the person who would have said to you, sunscreen is the only way to go in the sun. And if you go in the sun, you'll also die. But if you don't take 10 COVID jabs, you're going to die. And if you didn't say that stuff on the internet, she was the one who was censoring you. Nina Jankowicz, Mike Benz, of course, has let us all know exactly who she is. Jonathan Turley bringing it up here, saying Nina Jankowicz is back with a vengeance. The former head of the infamous Disinformation Governance Board within the Department of Homeland Security is now heading a private disinformation group called the American Sunlight Project. So Mike Benz has showed us how this machine works. She's literally just there to run op on anyone who is countering the government narrative on whatever file it may be, vaccines, inflation, whatever. She's there to make sure no one knows what the hell is going on. And you can see in the eyes, she's very intent on doing this. Very serious woman, right? So it's perfect, right? We've got an incredulous political system, an incredulous banking system, all of which are just stupid, right? But the best part is our justice system. It's our justice system, right? So this has been fun. We've got this is all the unsealing stuff with the boxes hoax, the Mar-a-Lago boxes hoax. What it turns out we found, so we got this Judge Cannon who keeps unsealing and unmasking stuff that what's his name? Straw, or what was it? No, not Straw. Jack Smith, the steely-eyed Jack Smith, the handsome prosecutor, right? That guy who Mike Benz has let us all know is a blackmailer, and he did the blackmail for the ICC court, the American involvement in the International Criminal Court in Europe. And meanwhile, they're doing all this stuff against Israel now, and the US is going to, I guess, sanction the International Criminal Court. Looks like our blackmailer in chief that kept everything going over there in The Hague is gone. He's on to other files. So things aren't going so great over there in the ICCC, and so we know why. So here's what we found out from Julie Kelly, who's an investigative journalist, and everyone who's bringing it up, and what we're seeing from the unmasking that Cannon is doing. So this comes from Owen Gregorian. New bombshell evidence emerges. Was Trump set up in the classified doc saga? I call it the Mar-a-Lago boxes hoax. This week in Florida, Judge Eileen Cannon unsealed a trove of new documents that Jack Smith fought to keep hidden, and you'll soon find out why. Among the documents unsealed were extensive exhibits, motions, and other filings, shedding light on the intricate web of communication between the Biden White House and the National Archives and Records Administration lead up to Trump's indictment. Investigative journalist Julie Kelly found something interesting in the documents that could change everything. The first thing is testimony from an FBI agent who testified that the General Services Association had been in possession of Trump's boxes in Virginia before ordering Trump's team to come get them. So an entire pallet full of boxes that had been held by the GSA somewhere outside of DC is dumped at Mar-a-Lago, Kelly notes. Apparently, these are the boxes that ended up containing papers with classified markings. That's the ones he's in trouble for. I will double check indictment, but I don't recall this event in the timeline, she added. So it appears that the Biden administration, this is the important part, may have been responsible for shipping classified information to Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. And this development is significant because Trump has previously blamed the GSA for packing the boxes that contain the classified documents, only to later accuse Trump of essentially stealing them and using them as a pretext for sending the FBI to raid his Mar-a-Lago home. It was a setup from the get-go. So we've got nothing like a court system that works. We've got nothing like that. And I'll take it back to what RFK said. We now have proof that the fiat system doesn't work. Proof of not working. Fiat requires these nodes, the media, the military, the banking system, the education system. It all has to operate in a way that allows it to perpetuate forward. And it's not doing that. Not even close, right? And that's why when you start seeing things about elections, and it's why, this is from Charles Payne, disingenuous poll. CNN poll has Biden falling even further behind, so they're making up issues like protecting democracy. They should have added protect the planet from invading Martians. At the very least, explain that democracy fails in our republic when the executive branch ignores Supreme Court decisions. So indeed, we have nothing like a republic anymore. And that people like Kennedy are saying it publicly. Right? It's one thing to say, I'm going to save America like Trump. But when Kennedy comes out and says that it's already so corrupt, I mean, Trump is saying the same thing. So I don't really want to make too much distinction between them. But the idea here being that we understand more and more that not only can the fiat nodes prove through their work, through their proper functioning, that fiat still works, we're seeing now that it actually creates the dangers. It actually creates the risk itself, that the nodes that propagate fiat are the menace. They're not the solution to the threats. They don't manage the threats. They are the threats. And it's taken a long time for Americans to come to this point, to understand that our institutions are the dangerous ones. For Americans to understand through all the propaganda that's been going on for years, through all of the misinformation, through all of the hallucinations, through all of the brainwashing, through all of the myth making, that the true menace to the world comes from American institutions that they control globally in some cases. But this is a big change. And again, it's one of the major things that has to happen. American patriots have to understand what they love about America. And they've got to disassociate these institutions like the dollar from that pride in America. I'm an American exceptionalist. I believe in American exceptionalism, but it has nothing to do with our banking sectors. Nothing, right? And that so many Americans are also Bitcoiners, I think, is one of the best things we can do, right? So, Fallout show alludes to a post-apocalyptic called a shitter who just shits to feed the flies. Yikes. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Jose says, I buy all my meat 100% organic farts only. Full farts. More. Imagine being a Ukrainian or a Canadian at this point. No kidding. Is this Ferdous buy? Fridge buy? I wonder if this is Ferdous. I'm not getting. Oh, you're not getting any of these. What is going on with my thing? It doesn't show them anymore for some reason. It's done. Huh. Well, I'm reading your comments, but I don't know why I can't put them back on. People are coming to USA because of the cow farts. Indeed. Spread sheets or spread cheeks. Yeah, I knew they're called heifers. Sorry about that. I didn't feel enough confidence in it. Lance says, Max Kaiser says people going to El Salvador from Canada are seeking political asylum. I've honestly thought about it in the United States. My problem is I can't keep running my back and forth scam. I need the back and forth scam, because the Americans will start taxing me if I don't do the back and forth. So honestly, I can't run my business in Canada. Like, for real, I legit can't. Like, it's just not possible. So, oh no, that's it. So because I can't run it in Canada, I got to come up with something, right? There you go. Ooh, sun is up. Yeah. All right, team. I got a bit of a short one today because it's my daughter's birthday. I got to get her to her homeschool pod with all of her stuff in hand and everything. So thanks for coming, everyone. I think to see updated number of likes, you must leave and come back in live stream. Yeah. No, it's not the likes I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see the someone should make cow fart cheese. I'm trying to put your comments back on the screen, and the interface is just not working. There's a button, you just hit pin, and then normally I can click on each of your things and it goes there for, I got to pick the time I want it to be there for, but it won't work. Anyway, that's all I got. Peace, everyone. I hope you have a great day. I shall see you all tomorrow. We're going to be back on a bit more regular schedule almost from now. And I'm going to Hong Kong and Qatar next week, but I will be doing the show at night. So hopefully I can give you some cool Hong Kong backgrounds. For Qatar, I'll be doing it in the airplane, but that should be cool too. All right, team. Peace. Don't know why it won't let me cancel. I think it's the same problem with the I think it's the same. Yeah, I know. It's the same problem with the, I just don't think it's functioning. All right, I'm going to close the whole thing and we'll see what happens.